Good afternoon. We are following breaking news right now at noon. A fire at Y-12 National Security Complex is contained. We are about to hear from officials in a press conference. We're going to take you to Oak Ridge right now, where Vinay Simlat is standing by with the latest. Vinay, what can you tell us?
Abby, we know around 9:15 somebody reported a fire at building 9212 here at Y-12. The officials here say that they were working with uranium when that fire happened, but the uranium and the fire was contained to that building. They don't expect any outside impacts beyond what happened here at Y-12. The city of Oak Ridge says it's standing by to monitor the situation, but they're not involved, and neither is the Roane County EMA. All of the cleanup and all of the response has been handled here by the contractors who run Y-12. Now, we do know a little bit about that building where this happened, building 9212. It is a chemical processing and uranium production facility that they've been using here since 1945. We don't know how large the fire was, but the officials here say that it was contained to the area inside the building. There's nothing that happened to the people outside in Oak Ridge or in Roane County, and there's nothing for anybody else to worry about. They did have to evacuate that building, building 9212. They had a lockdown for most of the area and a curfew, but that's all been lifted right now. So we are waiting to get another update from the folks here at Y-12 in just a few minutes.
Vinay, we've talked about the fact that a uranium processing building was affected by this fire. Do you know anything about this material or the material that was involved in the fire?
Yeah, this goes back to the history of Y-12, and they've been doing stuff with uranium since it started back in the 1940s, but so far they say that it was contained. The experiment was being held in an area where they're used to be using that kind of, doing those kinds of experiments, and they followed all of the procedures and were able to put the fire out when it happened. So they're really not concerned about the procedures or the uranium spreading around the area right now, Abby.
Well, thank goodness for that. Vinay, we know that some of the building, or that one building at least, was evacuated, a few hundred people affected, and that the community is safe. Do you know about the larger Y-12 complex? Have those buildings at all been affected, or those employees been affected?
Yeah, they did have a soft lockdown here at Y-12, and there was a curfew. So if you were in a building, you had to stay in it. We're actually expecting right now to hear a little bit more from the officials here at Y-12.
We are listening in on the press conference there at Y-12. We'll let you listen.
Again, thank you for being here this afternoon. My name is Gene Patterson. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Y-12 National Security Complex, specifically for Consolidated Nuclear Security, which is the managing operator of the site. To my left is Stephen Wyatt with the NNSA Production Office, and Tony Bozer, who's also with CNS, our technical advisor. So up front, good news. We have accounted for all employees. There were no injuries as a result of this situation. Now, to go through the timeline with you, I'm going to ask Steve to do that.
Okay, good morning. Again, my name's Stephen Wyatt, and I'm with the National Nuclear Security Administration. There was a fire at approximately 9:15 a.m. this morning involving uranium in building 9212. This is a production facility on site. Again, as we've stated previously, there are no off-site impacts as a result of what occurred today. Our emergency response organization responded to the emergency. Employees were evacuated from building 9212 as well as other buildings nearby. And for 9212, we're talking about a couple of hundred employees who are directly involved. There are no reports of injury or contamination. Also, in the facility itself, we have what are known as continuous air monitors. They did not alarm as a result of that, which would indicate that there's no release of radioactivity, and Tony can address this further explanation. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, so questions.
Any idea what caused the fire at this point?
No, we don't know the cause of the fire. Our focus is entirely on responding to the emergency. We've accounted for employees. You know, we're still responding to the emergency. We'll determine what took place at a later time, but right now our focus is on the emergency itself.
You mentioned that the chemical was uranium.
Uranium.
That is what was on fire to cause the fire. What, I mean, not cause, but
We don't have information regarding the exact cause of the fire, but it was involving a uranium compound.
Will this building be opened up in the next couple of days? Will it be closed for investigation? What does the next couple of days look like?
That's yet to be determined. Again, there'll be a full examination of what took place today as well as our response. I wouldn't want to speculate on how long it will take for us to go back into routine operations.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what happens in that building? What generally is that building used for?
Tony?
Yeah, so that building does uranium processing for all of our uranium-based missions. As the Uranium Center of Excellence for the NNSA, we process materials in support of nuclear Navy mission as part of non-proliferation and as part of our classical NNSA mission. So there's a lot of different forms of material there. This happened to be uranium that was in a metal type form. To the question of what started the event, we don't have those details, but I can say that we do have measures in place to address the risk of a fire and to be able to react, as you've seen today, to a fire event. And the good news, as was mentioned, is we have positive indications that the event was contained to the process equipment, that there's been no spread of contamination outside of the processing equipment proper, no impact to personnel in the building, and certainly none to the general population of the plant or the public.
Yeah, and just to give you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes thing, as soon as this event occurs, our emergency response starts in action. And part of that is contacting all our local stakeholders and our congressionals. So they have all been apprised of this situation from early on in this incident. And at this point, I can't speak for them, but you may speak to those folks. I think they're comfortable with where we are and what we did today.
And as far as the contamination goes, what was the concern there and what level is that concern right now?
So the concern is to understand if any material spread as part of this event outside of process equipment could affect personnel in the building, could affect personnel in the plant. And again, we have monitoring equipment in place that has confirmed no release of material outside of our processing equipment. So that means all of those features performed as expected, as designed, and a lot of conservative decisions made as far as the emergency response team to confirm that as part of this event.
Can you say how the fire was extinguished?
Not at this time.
Are there different protocols to put out a fire involving uranium as opposed to other fires?
May I have your attention, please? This is the Y-12 Operations Center. Daniel, Neal, please call 574-7172 as soon as possible. Daniel Neal, 574-7172.
So that's a great question. Absolutely. Each process as part of that process development, the training and the protocols have specific procedures in place depending on what type of fire is expected. Chemical fires versus maybe combustible type fires and those type of things. So yes, we do have specific fire response procedures for that. Those were what was followed. And as per those procedures, the folks that were part of processing took their initial actions and then did exactly the right thing by requesting emergency response to come in and take the next steps.
All right, other questions?
Can you say how large the fire was?
Other than contained within the process equipment, we
Yeah,
don't
we
have
haven't
that
characterized
detail.
that.
Lastly, for me, can you point to or show us where the 9212 is on the campus map?
It's roughly in the western portion of the Y-12 side.
Okay, question here?
You want to talk a little bit about the new command center and the new fire department that we just dedicated and how they played a role in
Yeah.
cleanup?
Well, I can tell you the fire department is not, we did cut the ribbon on that facility recently, but we have not fully moved in. So they're still working out of old quarters. I can tell you from speaking with those firefighters, they're very happy about those the new accommodations, and certainly the access in and out from that building will be much better than where it is today. So thank you for the question, and I'm sure the firefighters appreciate it as well.
How much did the command center, the new command center play in this?
Well, they're at the heart of any emergency. They are the conductor. They direct us and all the pieces that follow. So they played a direct role in that. All right, again, Oops, sorry. Sorry, Steve. All right, so again, to reiterate, we're very happy to report to you that all employees have been accounted for, that there were no injuries as a result of this incident, this fire that occurred about 9:15 this morning, that there were no impacts beyond the immediate area of that fire, which was in building 9212 in the west side of the site. We have contacted our stakeholders. They are pleased and comfortable with our response, and at this point, we are happy to, continue on with you all, but for now, I think the story is good news. Our process has worked. The public was never in any danger. The environment is safe, and we're going to move forward from here. So thank you all.
Thank you.
And we are just listening in on a press conference. Jean Patterson, the spokesperson at Y-12, giving us an update on the situation developing at this hour. What we know at this point is at 9:15 there was a fire situation in a uranium processing building on the west side of the Y-12 site. They evacuated several hundred employees. All of those employees are okay, and according to the spokesperson you just saw, everything is okay and contained in that machine that was processing the metal form of uranium. The outside community is not impacted. A lot of the outside buildings, most of them, all of them are okay at this hour. We do want to mention that some did have to evacuate and some were put on lockdown. You can stay with WBIR and WBIR.com for the latest. Again, no contamination concerns this afternoon, which is the big headline.